I'm Michael Bovee with Consumer Recovery Network, and I'm here to talk about a topic that I've covered in depth throughout my entire career working with people to help resolve debt. And it's a comparison. I've got an article up on the CRN site that I'll link to right now that goes into a whole bunch of detail in print, what I'm going to do probably more briefly in video, and it's to compare debt settlement, a debt management plan, and Chapter 7 bankruptcy for its cost and for your access to credit after you finish one of these solutions, or how long is it going to take you to finish one to accomplish an adult credit and finance goal. So to begin with, let's talk about math, cost. So the national average cost of a debt management plan, it's a 5-year repayment plan, and it's going to be about 2% of your enrolled balances. So if you have a $30,000 debt load, all credit card that qualifies for one of these plans, imagine that your monthly payment is going to be $600 a month for 5 years, 60 months. The feds don't allow, at least at the time I'm recording this, those plans to last longer than 60 months. You can make them go shorter. Once you lock in the plan, you want to throw a tax refund or something, extra money every month even, to make those go faster, you can. So $30,000 is going to be paid back with a lower interest, about 6-7%. And over that time, you're going to pay more than $30,000. Let's say it's $33,000. All right, so there's a cost. You have $30,000 worth of debt and you want to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and it's just a straight bankruptcy. There's no extra money that's going to go anywhere to creditors or anything. Like most bankruptcies are what's called a straight bankruptcy, and nobody gets paid back. You just have the cost of the bankruptcy. And the national average is about $1,800. You can find places to do it even $100, $200 less sometimes. So now you've got a situation where $33,000, 5 years, then you've got $1,800, 3 months. You might live in a state, California, it might take a little longer than 90 days to finish a Chapter 7. It could be 120 days, 4 months. And so, oh, wow, mathematically, which one of those win? And it's pretty easy to see that bankruptcy wins. Then let's throw settlement in there. So let's assume same $30,000 worth of credit card debt, and let's say you settle it all for half, $15,000. And it's over in the time that it takes you to raise that money. So you can't be current on your credit card payments if you're going to settle. You have to be late. Usually you need to be about 5 or more months late to get the best settlement outcome to save the most money. And so your credit gets trashed, but you save half the amount. If it takes you a year, well then that's how long it takes compared to 5 years in a debt management plan or 3 months in a bankruptcy. If it takes you 2 years to settle all your debt, well then it's 2 years. So there's a comparison on cost and time. But what's tricky is much of the information on the internet talks about how bankruptcy screws you for credit and all of your credit and finance goals for the 10 years that it's on your credit, because bankruptcy Chapter 7 is it's going to stay on there for 10 years. If you file a Chapter 13, it's only on there for 7 years. But Chapter 7 is not a death knell to your credit. You are not in credit purgatory for almost any time. And so let's stack that up and compare it to a debt management plan and debt settlement. So in bankruptcy, you're done, let's say in 3 months for most of the country. You will have typically pre-approved credit card offers in the mail a month after bankruptcy. So not 10 years, right? That offer is going to be not great credit limit, not great interest rate, but it's there nonetheless for you to help rebuild. You can get a car loan a year after your bankruptcy. You can get it sooner, but a decent interest rate a year after your bankruptcy. You can get a home loan 2 years after bankruptcy using FHA. You can get a home loan 3 years after Chapter 7 bankruptcy using virtually any other lender's standards. And so, and student loans, like if you were to try and co-sign for a child, like a Parent Plus loan, you typically want to have 3 years in the rearview mirror from your bankruptcy. So those are all the major reasons and the goals that we have to go out and get credit and financing, and that's how bankruptcy impacts them. So it's actually not that big of an impact, or at least for not that long. What if you're doing settlement? If it takes you 2 years to do settlement, and because you had to fall late, your credit's trashed, and it's going to take some time to bounce back. So it takes you 2 years to do the settlements, and then a year, maybe even 2 to rebuild your credit. So 3 to 4 years after your settlement, you're in great shape to start doing all those things and get those better interest rates, okay? The longer it takes you to do settlement, the longer it's going to take you to rebuild your credit. But it does rebuild fairly quickly. For some of us, it's actually way quicker than a year. Others of us assume it's going to take a year after the settlements are done. So in this 2 year it takes you, add a year, 3 years, tracks really well with bankruptcy. Now let's talk about a debt management plan and your access to credit. When you're enrolled in a debt management plan, it's often reported on your credit. It doesn't really hurt your score so much as it's on there. It shows that you're in a DMP, a managed plan. And so anybody pulling your credit to offer you a loan or approve you for a loan is going to see that you're in one of those. That typically is going to mean that you have no shot at another credit card for the 5 years that you're in the plan. Or if you want to pay it off faster and it takes you 4 years, whatever, don't apply typically for a credit card or an unsecured loan until you're done with those plans. However, after about a year in those plans, people are successful getting a car loan at a very good interest rate. And after a year of successful payments in your debt management plan, people are typically pretty successful at getting a mortgage, a new home loan, or refinancing their current loan. So that's how those things stack up. It might surprise you now that you've watched this, that bankruptcy, if you qualify for Chapter 7, and there are some qualifications, and I've got other videos throughout this channel about bankruptcy, debt settlement, and debt management plans, but as a comparison, the math and the calendar, time is a function of math, overwhelmingly is going to favor Chapter 7 bankruptcy for most people that can do it. Because you're going to save the most amount of money, get the freshest start, the quickest, and back, realizing all of your other goals financially with credit and finance, pretty similarly to debt settlement and nearly similarly to debt management plans. So save a lot more money and get all the stress behind you and get on with your life through a Chapter 7. See you on the next video.